And these ones also have, Hey everyone, and welcome to my channel. I'm Nikki, and today's video I am sharing 35 of my WeightWatchers must-have products. So this is going to be products that have points. I recently did a video where I gave my 35 must-have 0-point items on WeightWatchers, and I'll link that in the description of this video, but that's different than this one because none of these are going to be 0 points today. These are going to be the items that have point values on WeightWatchers. So every time I do one of these videos, I get a comment about how I don't eat enough fruits or vegetables. These are not fruits and vegetables today. These are things that have points and aren't 0 points, which will be in the other video that I already posted. Anyway, I hope that makes sense, but I lost 70 pounds in April of 2020 using WeightWatchers, and I've been maintaining that loss since. And throughout the years, I have gone through a bunch of different products that have become my staples that I use all the time. Some I go through phases with, and some I've been using from the start of my journey. And today I'm gonna be going through my top 35 for this year. These are just the products that I use the most, in addition to mostly 0-point foods, which like I said, are fruits, veggies, lean meats, stuff like that. These are just the things that kind of supplement that. And it includes some snacks, some sides, some carbs, cheeses, stuff like that. But I'm gonna be going into detail today about each item. I'll give the point value, and I'll just discuss how I use these things. If you enjoy this video or find it helpful, please go ahead and give it a like and subscribe to my channel. I really appreciate it. And let's go ahead and get started. Every year I go ahead and I just write out my list of all my must-haves, and I kind of have them sorted out, but not really. But I've got 35 of them this year that I'm gonna be walking through, and I'll just share the product. I have most of them in front of me today. I will share it and share how I use it and stuff like that. A lot of these things you guys have seen in my grocery hauls if you ever watch them, but these are just my 35 must-haves all compiled into one video. Starting with the first thing on my list today, I've got milk, and specifically Fairlife milk. This is something that's actually changed from the start of my journey. I used to buy cashew milk all the time, and it is something I still recommend if you're looking for a low point option, especially if you can't have dairy. But I have more recently switched to this Fairlife milk because it has more protein, and that's what I like about it. Instead of just a gram of protein in a cup of the cashew milk I used to drink, a cup of this has 13 grams of protein. It is higher in points. It's 2 points for the cup, but you can have 3/4 cup for 1 point, and that's a lot of the times the serving I'll use in like a protein shake and stuff. So it's 80 calories for that serving, 13 grams of protein for 1 cup and 2 points. And I like to use this for protein shakes, bowls of cereal, any recipes that I need milk, if it's like mac and cheese or something. And then I also really like the Fairlife chocolate milk. This one's a little bit higher point. It's 6 points for the cup, but this is one of my favorite things to use for creamy ice creams. So it does have 13 grams of protein as well, and I'll just add maybe some protein powder or banana or something and then make a creamy with it. But these are just some good options if you're looking for a milk. I also like the 2% milk, but I want to say that one's 5 or 6 points for the cup as well, and about the same amount of protein, so I usually just stick with the fat-free Fairlife. Next up, we've got my yogurt that I have not every night, but when I have yogurt for dessert, this is the one that I'm mostly using. And I used to buy the individual containers a lot more, but I've switched to just the big container like this because it's convenient. I like the flavor, and I just feel like it's less wasteful. It's also cheaper, I think, to buy it this way. But what I do is I'll just scoop it out and use my food scale to weigh out the 2 or 3 point portion that I use. So for the serving of 3/4 cup, it's 90 calories and 14 grams of protein. That's 3 points for the serving, but sometimes, like I said, I'll do a little bit less. But it is a good way to get some protein in. I'll add some mixed berries or frozen fruit to it. Usually I heat up the fruit first though. I know some people like to mix it with frozen fruit and then it makes kind of like an ice cream or like frozen yogurt, but I actually prefer to heat up my fruit first, and then in my opinion, it's kind of like an ice cream sundae with yogurt. So I'll do that and add some cereal or granola or something, and it makes a really satisfying dessert. It keeps it lower point with this yogurt, and it is pretty filling because it's got a good amount of protein. Okay, next up, this has kind of changed a little bit, but not so much. I talk about reduced fat cheese a lot, and usually I'll just buy the shredded bags like this because it's the easiest option to find. But more recently, I've actually been preferring to get thin sliced slices. So sometimes they have reduced fat slices as well, like the Jarlsberg Swiss cheese is like a light Swiss, and it's only 2 points per slice from Trader Joe's. So sometimes I like to get that, but I also have been enjoying these thin sliced Sargento cheeses. Most of them are like 2 points for the one slice, but then the serving is for 3 slices because they are thin sliced. So it just depends how much you want to use. I usually do 1 to 2 though, because it depends on if I'm doing like an open face sandwich or something. But it's a good way to get some protein. They still melt really well, especially because these ones aren't actually like reduced fat or anything. They're just regular cheese. That's why I feel like I've been preferring these. It's also been nice if I'm making mac and cheese or something and I just need something. These work well for that. One question I get a lot is for a lower point cream cheese option on WeightWatchers. And when it comes to that, sometimes I'll just have regular cream cheese or they sell light cream cheese. But I also really like these cheese wedges. This one specifically is from Aldi, but I also like the brand Laughing Cow. I just don't have any with me right now. They're usually a point per wedge, and Laughing Cow actually has a good amount of different flavors. These are the creamy garlic and herb. I like these, but they also have a plain one at Aldi too. But it's 25 calories for the wedge and 2 grams of protein. And usually what I'll do is either spread them on a bagel. Sometimes I'll make like a 2-ingredient dough bagel and this adds some good flavor to it. But I also really like to use these for pasta. I feel like they end up making a good creamy sauce. It just takes some time for them to melt. And sometimes I'll even put them in a container with some hot milk and like whisk it together so that it's a little bit more of a sauce before I add it to the pasta. But this is always just a nice lower point option for creamier cheese. Okay, this is another one that's more recently something I've been buying a lot. And specifically my favorite brand for these has been the Tortillas Bakery. And they're a little bit harder to find. I can't always find them at every store, but I also have gotten the Trader Joe's lavash flatbreads. But either way, they're just a really nice option for either roll up like wraps like this, or also just like flatbread pizzas. When I have nothing to make, like especially recently, I've just been trying to come up with quick and easy meals, and I'll just take these and put some type of sauce, some type of protein, some type of veggie, and then some cheese, and you can do like a barbecue chicken, or you can do just like turkey pepperoni and red sauce, or any different type of like flatbread. It works really well on these, and it's only usually 2 points. Actually, I think the Trader Joe's it's 3 points for the whole sheet, but most of the other brands I get, it's 2 points for the entire thing, and it's pretty big. So sometimes I end up just like folding it over and making it like a little flatbread sandwich thing, but they've been a really nice option when I can't think of what I want to eat and I don't want to make like a sandwich or something. These work really well. So I've got some different options here, the regular white, and then this one is a whole grain with flaxseed, but any of them work and they're usually low point. Okay, next up, I wanted to include Bolthouse dressings, which I feel like I've included these in most of my must-have videos. Specifically, this flavor has become my new favorite. It's their fire chili ranch. It is kind of spicy, but it is so good, especially with just like chicken or drizzled on a bowl with some like veggies and rice. It has really good flavor, and it's 2 points for 2 tablespoons. It's 50 calories and a gram of protein, and it's just a lightened up option for a dressing that I feel like they don't lack flavor. They have good creaminess, and the Bolthouse line in general has a bunch of different flavors that I like. I don't think I've tried one that I haven't liked from them. So they've got like a blue cheese one when I want to do like blue cheese and buffalo. They've got a good balsamic. They've got a bunch of different, I'll put them on the screen probably, but they've got a bunch of different flavors and options that really help me to stay on track with my weight loss journey. Okay, next up, this one's kind of boring, but I've just got rice, because rice is something that's really helped me to stay on track with my journey. If you guys don't know, I love making rice bowls, and having some rice prepped in the fridge is so helpful for that because it makes the perfect base. Usually I'll do like 3/4 cup cooked rice, which is 5 points on WeightWatchers, and specifically I like to prep jasmine rice. So I meant to grab this out of here sooner, but this is the big rice bag from Sam's Club. It's 25 pounds, I want to say, and it's just their Members Mark jasmine rice. This is what I like to use. We'll just prep like 4 cups at a time of uncooked rice, and then it makes some big batches that we can just store in containers in the fridge. And then when I make a bowl, I use my food scale to weigh it out, and it makes the perfect base. That's why I always have a big bag of this on hand. Okay, then moving on to one of my favorite carbs, which is pasta. And specifically, this is the Barilla Protein Plus pasta. They've got a bunch of options, although it has been harder to find the different types of noodles they have. I feel like Walmart only has a couple different options, and it's usually like the penne and rotini, or penne and elbows, and then sometimes they've got like the spaghetti noodles. But sometimes I can go to the store, maybe like Woodman's or Meijer, and they've got a bunch of different types of pastas, so I always stock up then. Anyway, it's just a nice option because it's a little bit higher in protein and fiber than regular pasta. For 2 ounces, it's 190 calories, 5 grams of fiber and 10 grams of protein, and that serving's 4 points on WeightWatchers. Usually though, what I'll do is 3 ounces dry, which is 6 points on WeightWatchers. So it's a nice big portion for me, especially when I add some veggies and protein to it, and it's helped me to not have to cut out pasta. I think this tastes the most similar to regular pasta. Throughout the years, we've tried like chickpea bonza pastas and stuff like that, and to be honest, I don't even really buy those anymore because I only buy this. It's so good, and it's just kind of replaced all the other lower point pasta options. Other than one, actually, I do want to mention, and that is al dente. So I feel like a lot of people know this brand. Another one that's a little bit harder to find, I usually can find it at like Woodman's or Fresh Thyme, I think, but this is al dente. They have some carbonara pasta. Actually, this one isn't one of their carbonatas, but it's much lower in points, and it really satisfies my craving for fettuccine noodles. I like that they're a little bit like softer, and they look like this, but these are the spinach ones. Very similar, just a nice lower point option. And what I like about it is that I feel like I can have a big portion of them. So this is another brand I like, but I also really like the Barilla Protein Plus. Okay, another noodle that we have, these are the Thai wheat noodles from Trader Joe's. Honestly, these are the only ones like these that I have found that I've repurchased this much, and they're just my favorite. So it comes with 3 packs like this, and usually I'll do a batch of like 2 of these, and then we get 3 servings from it, and it's like the perfect serving. But one of these is 8 points, 310 calories. It does have 10 grams of protein and 4 grams of fiber, and I just love to mix these with some soy sauce or teriyaki sauce, some veggies, and then a protein, whether it's shrimp or chicken or something. I just love these. They always satisfy my craving for like Chinese takeout noodles, and I just love how like thick and chewy they are. Super easy to cook. They only take a few minutes once I've cooked like the veggies and meat, and usually I can just toss them in with everything. I always pick up a couple boxes of these from Trader Joe's, and like I said, I haven't really found any super comparable. There is one brand that I like, but I prefer to use those noodles for ramen, but I'll pop them on the screen. They're another lower point option. I think it's 6 points for the pack of noodles, and usually I'll cook up some veggies, and then, like I said, add a protein, maybe some broth, and then some of those noodles. Those are just some nice lower point noodle options that help me do like takeout Chinese food at home. Okay, then the next thing that we have is protein pancake or waffle mix. So before I would always buy Kodiak, and I actually found this at Aldi and have started enjoying this one more. It's pretty comparable when it comes to like points and everything, but I just like the flavor of it more, honestly. I feel like it has less of like a wheaty taste to it, that the Kodiak kind of has more of a strong wheat taste, although the first ingredient is whole grain wheat flour, so probably pretty similar. But for the serving, which is about 3 pancakes, it is 5 points on WeightWatchers, and it does have 15 grams of protein and 5 grams of fiber. Sometimes what I'll do is I'll also do the Fairlife milk instead of water, because you pretty much just have to mix water and mix to make the pancakes. And you can also add egg. Usually when I make waffles, I'll add an egg in too, and that adds some extra protein. But this is just a really nice option that I always have on hand. I've actually got a couple boxes in there right now because I like to keep it in a jar back there. I need to fill it up, but it's nice to have. I use it for baking recipes too, for muffins and big like pancake bakes and stuff like that, but it's just always a good lower point, higher protein option. Then another protein option that I like to get is protein powder. I don't really take many supplements or anything, and I'm not even that consistent with having protein powder, but there are some times where I just want like a quick protein shake, or especially in the summer, that's when I start to crave them more as I'm like skating and stuff, and I just want like a quick snack when I get back. It's really nice to have protein powder as an option because, again, I'll use that Fairlife milk, some ice, a banana, and a scoop of this. This one is 2 points, and it's the strawberry cheesecake flavor. This one isn't my favorite, but it's just what we have right now. But it's PE Science, that's the brand I usually like. I also like Ready Nutrition's vanilla protein powder, and I've been trying a couple other brands, but I feel like I just always go back to PE Science. So 1 scoop has 24 grams of protein, 120 calories. Like I said, it's 2 points on WeightWatchers. I really like the cookies and cream. The pumpkin pie, which is seasonal, is so good. It's like a very specific taste, and I like crave it during that time of year, so it's perfect when they release it. But if you ever catch the pumpkin pie, it's really good. Anyway, this is a nice option just for convenience when I want to make a quick protein shake. Again, not something I do every day, but sometimes it's just nice to have. Okay, next up we've got some cereal. So like I said with my yogurt bowls, I like to top them with like a 2-point serving of cereal, and some of my favorite cereals for that include these two. We've got Lovebird, which is just a nice lower point option. It's pretty clean. They have the ingredients just listed right up here, and it is gluten-free if you're looking for that. For the serving of 3/4 cup, it is 4 points on WeightWatchers, so usually I'll just do half of that on my yogurt, and it's like the perfect amount of crunch with berries, and it just always satisfies my sweet tooth at night, or even for breakfast. Sometimes I'll also have this as just like a bowl of cereal. This is the cinnamon flavor, and they've got a couple others. I also really like the honey. This is just one of my favorite cereal options lately, and then I also really like Panda Puffs. I swear I used to have these as a kid. They're just like peanut butter puffs, and again, it's something nice to just add on my yogurt bowl as like a 2-point serving, and with some strawberries, then it gives it like a PB&J yogurt bowl vibe, and it's really good. A cup of this cereal has 170 calories and 3 grams of protein, but I don't always use that much. Usually I'll just do like a 2-point serving, like I said. Cereal is just always another staple item that I have on hand to add to things like that, and more recently I've just been craving bowls of cereal with milk, and I put a banana in it, and then it's a pretty balanced filling meal. Okay, then moving on, we've got some protein bars. First, we've got these Ready protein bars. My favorites being the peanut butter chocolate and the the mint chocolate chip, which is one of their newer ones. I also really like their dark chocolate blueberry and dark chocolate coconut, but I just go through phases with them. I kind of like burn myself out and then I go through another flavor, and right now these are my two favorites. So they're 5 points for the bar, which is nice because they're a good size and they're pretty filling. Each bar has 7 grams of fiber and 15 grams of protein, which is nice, again making it more filling. And I feel like they just have a good satisfying flavor. They keep me full and they satisfy that craving when I want it. A lot of the times I'll have these just like right after the gym when I need something quickly, or honestly when I want something sweet at night and maybe I need to hit my protein goal. This chocolate peanut butter really reminds me of Scotcheroos, which is one of my favorite Christmas cookies, and so that satisfies that craving every once in a while. And now this mint chocolate chip kind of tastes like a mint melt away, so again I kind of almost use it as like a sweet treat at night, like a little dessert. If I'm not gonna have like a yogurt bowl or something, maybe after my apple I just want something a little bit smaller and I'll just have a bar like this. But they're also nice after the gym. Same with Bear Bells. Another thing that maybe if I'm gonna go rollerblading and I haven't eaten anything and I just want something quick, I'll have a quick protein bar or something, or right after a skate if I am gonna be making a meal soon and just wanna eat something quickly, I'll have one of these Bear Bells, which this is the salty peanut, kind of tastes like a Snickers. Also the creamy crisp is my all-time favorite flavor. Adam also agrees. It's 5 points for both of these and they just satisfy that craving for a candy bar, honestly, but as a protein version. So 20 grams of protein in both of these. They're 200 calories and 5 points on WeightWatchers. And I usually get these online. These ready bars are usually at Walmart, and then actually Bear Bells have been a little bit easier to find lately. I first was finding them at Trader Joe's and then I started ordering them online too, but they're also at like Vitamin Shop and starting to pop up in places like Walmart and stuff. That's Bear Bells and ready bars. Okay, next up we've got some corn tortillas. So this is something that I didn't used to have. I don't know why I always thought they were like higher point. I think because when we started WeightWatchers, I realized how high point regular tortillas were, like flour tortillas. And I kind of just thought that about regular corn tortillas too. So we actually started buying the high fiber wraps instead. And I'll get to those in a second, but I kind of stopped buying corn tortillas too because I just thought they were higher point and I realized they really aren't. There's something that I incorporate a lot now actually because I crave them all the time. I feel like they really taste like good authentic Mexican food, and just heat them up quickly to use for like tacos and stuff, or I like to bake them a lot. These are just the El Milagro corn tortillas. I usually get them from any store actually. They're at like Aldi, Sam's Club, Walmart, all those places. So for 2 of them, it's 3 points on WeightWatchers, 100 calories and 3 grams of protein. One thing that I also really like to do with them is cut them up into like quarters, or even like smaller. I'll do like 6 per tortilla, and I'll spray them with some nonstick spray and add salt to them and pop them in the air fryer to make them into chips. And they make really nice crunchy chips that way that again taste pretty authentic. That's mostly what I use these for, and they're just a nice lower point option that really helps me to make copycat food at home and just filling good meals. Then going back to the higher fiber tortillas I mentioned that are also low carb, these are La Banderita. This has become pretty much the only brand of these we buy, and we for years only bought the Extreme Wellness, but then these came around and I feel like have just like popped up more and been easier to get. And they also started doing the different sizes, which has been nice. I actually usually prefer the bigger ones, but this is just a bag from Sam's Club that has a lot more, and they're just the normal size. So what's nice is that they're 1 point per tortilla, and they work really well for wraps with like chicken and hummus, or even breakfast burritos. They're a really nice option for, or taco bakes, enchilada bakes. I do so many different things with them, and so we just always have a pack of these in the fridge because they're a nice low carb, high fiber, low point option. And to me, these taste the most like regular flour tortillas. The Extreme Wellness even had like a little bit of a different texture and taste to them, and in my opinion these ones just taste the most similar. Of course they are still like a higher fiber, you can kind of tell, but that's why I usually like to cook them in the air fryer or the oven as well, or even on the stove or like panini press. Okay, next up we've got something that I have on Amazon subscription and I kept forgetting to change the date, so I've got like a couple cases of these that I need to keep drinking, but I do drink them almost every day with my protein coffee, and that is Quest Salted Caramel Protein Shakes. These are 3 points for 1 protein shake, and they've got 30 grams of protein, 170 calories, and 3 grams of fat. And I just really like to mix these with either an espresso pod or the Dunkin' cold brew concentrate. They've got some different flavors, but the s'mores, the pumpkin spice, and the vanilla have been my favorite lately. So I just mix them with some ice and one of these protein shakes, and it makes a really flavorful coffee that I enjoy. In my opinion, it's the closest I've gotten to making like a Starbucks drink at home because it is really sweet, but it does satisfy satisfy my craving for coffee and also helps me to get some protein in. I like to sip on this in the morning, and it also kind of holds me over till lunch. Sometimes I don't even realize how filling these actually are, and it's just nice when I'm having a busy morning or working on cookies or something and I need some extra protein or need something to keep me full till my next meal. These are really convenient for that. So they've got some other flavors. I always get the salted caramel, that's just my favorite, but these also work well for creamy recipes too that are higher in protein. Okay, the next thing that is a must-have for me would be wontons and dumplings and pot stickers like this. This is just the one I have on hand right now. They're from Trader Joe's and they're chicken cilantro mini wontons. I talk about how we like to do appetizer night a lot, or even when I make sesame noodles, sometimes like the copycat Chinese food, it's nice to have a little side of dumplings like this. Or when I make soup now, I always add some of these in because they add some protein and really good flavor, and they're not too high in points. So for the serving of 8 wontons, it's 3 points on Weight Watchers, 130 calories and 7 grams of protein. And like I said, sometimes I'll pan fry them and just use them as a side or like a mini appetizer, and other times I'll just add them into the chicken broth while it's boiling, and then they quickly cook up and they make like a nice soup dumpling. These are a nice option, usually in the freezer section. I also really like the brand Bibigo. I'll pop on the screen because they make some very similar to this, but just a nice option that I always have in the freezer. Then another freezer option, and this is actually from Trader Joe's too, but I love falafel lately. It's something that I hadn't ever had before, and now I have it all the time. I crave it all the time, especially in like couscous bowls and stuff, specifically from the restaurant Naf Naf, which we don't even have by us, but we have had it before and it's really good and I crave it a lot. It's nice and filling with hummus and veggies, roasted red peppers, pickles, everything like that. And I feel like the falafel just always brings the whole dish together. So I always make sure to have some of these in the freezer, and these are just their plain ones. They also have some dill pickle ones that we like that are mini. And again, those are just from Trader Joe's, but there are some other different freezer options at different places. I just like to get them when they're already made like this, and I can just pop them in the air fryer to heat them up. For these, for 4 pieces, it's 5 points on Weight Watchers, which is pretty nice because they have 8 grams of fiber and 6 grams of protein, and they're made mostly with garbanzo beans. So that's what's nice about them, to help to get some extra fiber and protein. And like I said, I just really like the flavor, the texture and everything. And sometimes I'll just break them up and sprinkle them over my bowl, and it just adds the perfect consistency to it. I love falafel for that reason, and it's become one of my must-have items that I always have in the freezer because it's a really nice ingredient to add to bowls and wraps and stuff. The next thing that I have on my must-have list, I actually don't have right now, but it's just English muffins. Specifically, I like to get the multi-grain English muffins from the brand Thomas that are only 2 points on Weight Watchers. They're like the 100-calorie English muffins. I also like the Trader Joe's wheat English muffins, which are 3 points for 1. And what I usually do with them is just pop them open and add some egg, cheese, maybe some bacon, ham, or chicken sausage, and then I just make some breakfast sandwiches out of them. So a lot of the times I'll just prep them all at once and do a bunch of them. If you guys have seen any of my Sunday reset videos, that's one of the things I do a lot with them. But it's always just nice to have a lower point bread option for breakfast in the fridge. 2 points is not bad, and sometimes I make scrambled eggs and want like some toast on the side, and an English muffin is usually perfect for that. Okay, the next thing that I have is just panko breadcrumbs. So they're not 0 points on Weight Watchers, and usually when I use them, I just have to measure out how much I'm using for the recipe and then divide it by servings. But most of the time I use panko breadcrumbs to bread things, whether it's like shrimp or chicken, or I use it as an ingredient mixed in with like meatballs or burgers or stuff. It's just an ingredient I always have in the pantry because I go through it a lot, and it adds some nice crunch. It doesn't add too many points, and it's just a must-have item that I always have. Okay, next up, this is a little bit higher point, but it's something that I always incorporate, and I've mentioned on my channel that nuts are something that I always consider using weeklies for because they are a healthy fat that it's good to incorporate. So trail mix is one of my must-haves because sometimes I just need like a quick little snack, and this satisfies my craving. It helps me to get some healthy fats, like I said, and I just crave trail mix a lot. So having this option on hand helps me to not feel restricted, and it's just a nice snack. But this is just like the mountain trail mix from Aldi. It is 5 points for the serving of a 1/4 cup, which again is pretty high, but you also have to be careful when you get some of these that have like M&Ms and stuff in them. A lot of the times what I'll do is I'll make my own at home. I'll just buy stuff from Trader Joe's. They've got like separate pistachios, cashews, almonds, peanuts, and then I got dark chocolate covered raisins that I mixed in. And actually I did pour some of this into here, but anyway, it's nice to just make my own trail mix too, because then I control what goes in it. And again, nuts are something that I just like to incorporate. Trail mix is one of my favorite snack options. You just have to be careful that you're actually eating the portion size and not doing too much, because it is easy to just keep eating it. The next thing on my list is lower point dips and hummuses. So the hummus I have right now is one that we actually tried in a recent snack review. It's a basil pesto hummus, and it's just from the brand Boar's Head, which I feel like we buy a lot of their hummuses. They've got like a sweet chili one that I really like. And then the brand Lantana has a black bean hummus that's one of my favorites. And I just like to buy hummus because it's a really good ingredient in bowls, like I mentioned with the falafel and couscous, or sometimes I like to spread it on wraps or sandwiches. It makes a nice kind of like sauce that adds really good flavor. I usually prefer to get more of like the flavored hummuses just because I'm a little bit more picky and don't always like just plain hummus, but they have a lot of different options with different brands, so I just usually scan them and see what lower point ones I can find. But most hummuses are 1 to 2 points for the serving of 2 tablespoons. But then in this category, I also wanted to include some lower point dips like the spinach kale Greek yogurt dip from Trader Joe's, which is 1 point for the serving. And it's one of my favorite things to have with like snack plates, or even just when I want some chips and dip. It's a really tasty dip. It kind of reminds me of like the spinach dip that used to be in the middle of like those appetizers of Hawaiian bread at parties. It's got good flavor like that and I really enjoy it. So I always buy that when I go to Trader Joe's. And then just another lower point option, which actually I think the serving of this is 0, but if you have more, it's not. But this is just Good Foods. It's their avocado salsa. Good Foods in general has a ton of dips that I really like. So if you ever see this brand, I'd recommend trying their dips out. They've got some like quesos that are even dairy free and stuff, but they've got some good ones and usually lower point. So I just like to incorporate those so I don't feel restricted on my journey. Adam and I have always loved eating dips and stuff. Like when we do our appetizer nights and stuff like that, we just like having dips. It's nice to have some low point options that make it feel like I'm not restricted, but they still help me to reach my goals. Okay, next up we've got bread. So I always get asked what bread I like to have when I'm doing Weight Watchers, and I don't really cut out any breads, but I've got some favorites, and specifically the sourdough that I get from my farmer's market is my favorite, but that's just a local bread. And I just like sourdough because I feel like it doesn't make me feel that like bloating feeling, and I just love the flavor of it and using it for different recipes, whether it's a sandwich or panini or like a French toast dish. It's really nice to have that option. So that what I'll do is I'll cut a slice and usually just weigh it out with my food scale and kind of track from there. But another bread option that I like is any type of like sprouted grain bread or any of these like seed-tastic breads like this. This one's from Aldi and it is 2 points for a slice or 3 points for 2 slices. So for a sandwich, that's not bad for 3 points of bread, especially because it adds 6 grams of fiber and 6 grams of protein then. And I feel like these breads specifically just have really good flavor and even make like a good toast option or PB&J. Sometimes I'm just really craving a peanut butter and jelly, and this is my favorite bread to use for that. So I just always have some of this in the fridge as well, and they have it at all different stores. We used to always buy the Ezekiel brand, and I feel like it's actually been harder to find that lately, but even just like the Aldi brand works as well. So it's nice to have some bread. Okay, the next thing I also don't have, but it's just like topper things. So what I mean by that is like the little crunchy wontons or the crispy fried onions. That's something that I've bought more recently, a lot more frequently, because they add such good flavor and crunch to meals. So the wontons work really well in like Asian salads or even just like rice bowls if I want that extra crunch, or in like a stir fry. And then I really like the crispy fried onions for like barbecue pizza flatbreads or even like sandwiches or burgers. Whatever I like to add that extra like oniony flavor to, it's really nice to use those. And usually I just use like a tablespoon, which is usually a point. So it doesn't add too much to it, but the flavor that it adds is always worth it. And those are just something I like to buy now because of that. I like to mix them in even with like pasta and stuff. I just always feel like there's a use for them, and I just incorporate them here and there, and it adds some good flavor to meals. Next up, we've got bacon, and specifically center cut bacon. So that's something that I realized a little bit through my journey. I feel like my first must-have video, I said that turkey bacon was my favorite, and since then I've realized that center cut bacon is the same amount of points, but it tastes better in my opinion, and texture and everything, and it just satisfies the craving for bacon that I have, whereas turkey bacon never really did. It didn't really feel like the same thing. And I still will have turkey bacon, it's just not really my favorite, so if you like it, that's totally fine. But for me personally, I prefer to just get this center cut bacon that's 2 points for 2 slices, and it just helps to satisfy that craving. It's got some really good flavor, and I don't use it all the time, but it's nice to add to breakfast bowls or to wraps or sandwiches or even burgers. It does have 5 grams of protein for 2 slices, and it's 50 calories. Okay, next up we've got chicken and turkey sausage. So that covers actually a big range of things, because I usually like to buy like the Belinsky chicken sausage links and different things that I'll just like cut up and add to pasta or pizzas. But then I also like breakfast sausages, specifically Applegate, or I can't even think of the other brand right now that I always buy, but I like to get like chicken maple sausages like this and add them them to pancakes and waffles, or sometimes they even have like the sausage patties that are like 2 points for a patty and nice to incorporate into like a breakfast sandwich or something. So these links specifically are 4 points for 3 of them. They do have some sugar because they're chicken and maple, but I love them and it's nice to just have this bag in the freezer. I could just grab a couple out and add them to a meal. It adds some protein and the flavor that I want. Okay, next up we've got some bone broth. It's not always a point, but most of them are. Some of the chicken broths I use aren't any points, but I just wanted to include it in this video. It wasn't in my 0 point video, and it's something that I use a lot, especially lately. I've really been trying to prioritize chicken bone broth instead of just regular stock or broth because it adds some protein. So in the cup of this, it's got 9 grams of protein, whereas I think the regular chicken broth I used to buy was like a gram of protein. That's nice about this, and I usually just get it from Aldi where it's cheapest, but I like to use it for soup, and I feel like mostly soup or chili. That's what I use bone broth for. Then next up, we've got meat sticks. So my favorite brand, I feel like it's stayed this way for a while now, but it's Mighty Spark, and they've got mostly, I think, all chicken sticks actually. So these are the honey jalapeno, which is one of my favorite flavors. I also really like the sea salt stick they have, especially because that one's only 1 point for one. These are 2 points for the stick, but they do have 6 grams of protein, and they just satisfy my craving for something salty. And when I just need like a quick little pick-me-up, I really like to take these on the go or when I'm hiking or something because they're so convenient. So I actually just order the big pack off Amazon usually in this flavor specifically, but these are one of my favorites. Okay, then moving on to the last 2 things that I have on my list. I kind of did them as categories because it covers a few things and I didn't want to just like list out each brand, but you'll see what I mean. So the first one is just salty snacks, and that is specifically things like this. So this is a newer product from the brand Vienna, and I love these so much. I love the individual packs like this. They're only 2 points on WeightWatchers for the whole thing, but they have 130 calories, 13 grams of protein. This one's just the pink salt, but they also have like a chili one and a ranch one that is so good, and it's just been one of my favorite salty crunchy snacks lately. Another one of my favorites is also Love Corn, and this is their sour cream and onion flavor, but I don't know, I think the barbecue, the cheese, the sea salt, those are my 3 favorites. I can't even really decide. I just really like these as a nice salty snack. So Love Corn, these edamame snacks. I also really just like different pretzels from Aldi. They've got one that is like their pub pretzel, and it's 3 points for the serving. And I love just using those on like a snack plate, or again, when I just want that salty, crunchy snack. Those are 2 of my favorite brands, and then some others that include just like pretzels or crunchy curls from Trader Joe's. It's just always nice to have some lower point snack options like that, especially when I make like a snack mix with air pop popcorn. I'll mix in some of this or some of this, and it only adds like a point or 2, but it also helps to add some protein and some fiber. Okay, and then the last category I have is just sweet snacks. So again, that covers a few different things, including True Fruit, which I actually don't have any right now, but I love their dark chocolate covered raspberries. They've got cherries, bananas. They've got some really good freezer options. And so we really enjoy True Fruit as a sweet option, but also Skinny Dipped has some really nice products that I like that are lower in points. Specifically, their nuts are not dipped in as much chocolate, and that's what helps keep them a little bit lower point. And then these are just their Skinny Dipped dark chocolate salted caramel bites. These are 3 points for one, and it's just like the perfect sweet snack I need sometimes after a meal or after I have my apple and then I just want something else quickly. I've really been enjoying these. So I got some on sale at Fresh Time and stocked up, but all of the Skinny Dip products I really like. And then same with these Nani's Bakery Biscottis, another thing that I've been buying a lot, and it's just a nice sweet treat when I want something that isn't over the top indulgent but satisfies my cravings. These are 6 points for one. It's 90 calories and 2 grams of protein, and I just love that they've got these little chunks of caramel. Actually, this picture's better. They've got the chunks of caramel, the chocolate on the bottom, and then some drizzle, and it's just the perfect sweet treat. And then the other one I wanted to include, I don't have any right now, but Honey Mamas is another sweet thing that I like, and usually in the refrigerated section. Okay, that wraps up everything that I'm going over today. Like I said, these are the things that don't include 0 point foods, but just my must-haves that I repurchase all the time that help me stay on track with my weight loss journey. Let me know what your top must-haves, if I mentioned them or if I missed one that you might have that I didn't even talk about today. Let me know in the comments below. I'd love to hear. But I hope you guys found this video helpful. If you did, please go ahead and give it a like and subscribe to my channel. I really appreciate it. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.